Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are thrilled that you are here with us. As we're letting some folks come in, I do just want to go over a couple of housekeeping items before we get started with our formal presentation. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kate Delengowski. I am the Director of Special Events here at Drexel, and part of my role oversees the Drexel Family Association, Welcome Week, Move-In Weekend, Family Weekend, parts of commencement, which is a little far off for this group, but generally all those large-scale special events that you will see on campus. And under that role is why I lead the family web chats. So we're really thrilled that you're able to join us this evening. A little bit about how we'll spend our time together. We do have just about an hour to go through our formal presentation as well as questions and answers. As you do see, we are in a webinar format. So only myself and our wonderful presenter, Haley, are able to speak out loud and to be on camera. If you have questions throughout the night, please utilize the Q&A feature on the bottom left-hand portion of your screen. Throw those questions in there. We will get to just as many as we can throughout the rest of the evening. And we will go ahead and speak those out loud as well as put them in the text so that folks are able to benefit from everyone's questions. If there's something that you're not seeing in the Q&A or you'd like to pop directly in the chat to me, you're welcome to do that as well. But otherwise, without further ado, I am going to turn it over to my colleague Haley for our presentation on Drexel Central and financial aid. Thanks, Haley.
Thank you so much, Kate, for hosting this opportunity, and welcome everyone. Happy to have you join us today. For this presentation, I'm just going to share my screen with you all. Actually, Kate, would you mind enabling my ability to screen share, please?
Absolutely, you should be good to go now.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, everyone. As Kate so kindly introduced, I am Haley. I'm from Drexel Central. We represent billing, financial aid, and registrar needs. When it comes to your financial aid, the biggest thing we want to focus on is your Drexel One account, specifically the billing and financial aid tab. Here you'll find any outstanding requirements you might have regarding your billing and financial aid. It'll appear on this right-hand side here. You can't see it right now because I don't currently have any, but you certainly will during your time with us. Oh, apologies there. In this top left-hand corner here, you'll see our contact info. And on the bottom there, you will see links to accessing your current balance and eBills through the TouchNet billing portal. You'll also have the option to make a payment, again, through TouchNet. So to elaborate,
Haley, I'm sorry to interrupt a minute, but I think you're in presenter mode, so we can only see the small parts of the screen. Would you mind putting it on full view for us, please?
Oh, sure. Thank you, Kate. I should have asked that initially. Okay, let's see here.
Perfect. That is great if that works for you.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Would it be helpful if I started from the beginning?
Absolutely. If you don't mind, that'd be great.
Okay. Okay, excellent. And are you able to see the Welcome to Drexel University next steps?
Yep, it looks perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your patience there. Okay, so again, I'm Haley from Drexel Central. We represent billing, financial aid, and registrar questions. This right here is not the main building, but we are located in the main building, Suite 106, 3141 Chestnut Street. Okay, so as we mentioned before, the key place, the key resource for finding your financial aid and billing information is going to be your Drexel One account, specifically the Billing and Financial Aid tab. There you'll find a variety of information, including our contact information, including the phone number, our website, and also the Ask Drexel email database, as I call it. There you can send us written messages in email form. Below that, oh goodness, apologies there, this is very sensitive. Okay, below that we have links to the TouchNet billing portal, which is where you'll view your balances, your e-bills, make payments if you choose to do so online. For our international students, we also offer web transfers, not web transfer, wire transfer payments. And on the right-hand side here, again, you can't see it on my screen because I don't have any at the moment, but if you ever have any outstanding requirements, you'll see them here. When it comes time to it, you'll notice little plus signs next to each requirement. If you just click that, it'll expand, it'll give you all the info you need. One thing I didn't mention initially is once you have your financial aid package, you'll see that any grants, scholarships, or loans you have, as well as estimated cost of attendance. Okay, so next steps. As we previously discussed, Drexel One will show you any outstanding requirements you have. When it comes to federal student loans for undergrads, the two options are subsidized and unsubsidized. To give a bit of a brief background context, they are dispersed evenly across the entire academic year. So if you're in 3 quarters, then it's going to be divided by 3. If it's 4 quarters, then it's 4, and so on. Because it's federal, they're subjected to what's known as origination fees, which is a small processing fee taken out by the Department of Education, not by Drexel. So I only mention that because students sometimes are surprised that they see X amount when they only get, a smaller amount in the end. So just something to keep in mind. When it comes to limits, there are annual and lifetime limits. If you go to the studentaid.gov website, you can find what the breakdown is per year. So if you're a first year, a second year, and so on, you're allotted X amount in federal loan funding. When it comes to federal loans, there are a few requirements that you'll have to complete in order to actually get that money. The first thing is either accepting or declining said loans. Should you choose to accept the loans, you'll have to complete loan entrance counseling and master promissory note. They are both completed on the studentaid.gov website, which is where you complete the initial FAFSA application. They are fairly straightforward, but certainly worth the read just to make sure you understand the terms and conditions of borrowing from the government. And here you will see the studentaid.gov link. When it comes to additional financing options, if we stick with federal, there's the Parent Plus loan. That is in the parent borrower's name as opposed to the student. As I mentioned previously, disbursement rules still apply. It's divided evenly across the entire academic year. It's also subjected to origination fees, so that's something to keep in mind. And just like the subsidized and unsubsidized loan, there are requirements that follow, specifically a credit check and a master promissory note. The parent borrower would complete those. If you prefer to go the private route, we can't recommend any specific lender, but we do have a list of historical lenders on our website. You'll see the link here. And of course, beyond loans, there are grants and scholarships. If you're offered something from Drexel, that's wonderful. That's part of your financial aid package. If you wanted to pursue a private scholarship, again, we can't recommend anyone specific, but we do have a list of commonly utilized search engines on our website. And before the end of the evening, I'll be sure to post the link to our website in the chat. And lastly, when it comes to actual payments, you can opt for a payment plan. And with the payment plan, it will break your quarter sum into 3 separate smaller installments. Sometimes it works for families, other times they'd rather just pay the bill as it comes, but you do have that option. When it comes to billing, there are monthly e-bills. We have a predetermined schedule available on our website. The 21-22 dates are available now. And as many of you may have known, the first e-bill for the academic year was released the other day, yesterday in fact, and the due date should be listed at the top. Based on the info I have in front of me, the due date is going to be August 11th. And then lastly, our contact info. Again, this is available to you in the Billing and Financial Aid tab of your Drexel One account. And anytime you have a question, we're always happy to assist. Even if we can't answer directly, we're always happy to try and point you in the right direction. Okay, so I'm going to end the show, and then Kate, if I could just put website in the chat.
Absolutely. So I am going to kind of go over a couple of more popular questions that I noticed in the chat, and then we will address some individual stuff. So the first thing is, are Drexel One and Drexel Central the same thing? So no, they are 2 very different things. Drexel Central is the office that manages financial aid, billing, payments, other stuff that I'm forgetting, but I'm sure Haley can talk a little bit about what encompasses the office. And Drexel Central has a physical space in the first floor of the main building when you walk in. And if you visited campus, it's on the first floor. There's a big glass room on the left-hand side when you walk through the main doors. Drexel One is your students' online portal for all things Drexel. So their course schedules, their meal swipes if they're living on campus, if they have classes, Blackboard is in there. It's a one-stop shop. If your student has no idea what Drexel One is, or has not yet picked up their accounts, you're going to want to go ahead and make sure they're doing that now, if not very soon, because most items that are coming from Drexel are going to come to your Drexel email address. So if you have not picked up your Drexel One accounts, your student does not have their Drexel email address, and then they won't have access to all of this information. So big thing, pick up Drexel One accounts, pick up your Drexel One accounts. And Haley, do you want to talk a little bit about the rest of what Drexel Central does?
Sure, Kate. And I think your explanation was wonderful, by the way. As you had implied, we are a one-stop shop for all concerns billing, financial aid, or registrar. Let's see. In my experience, it can really vary day to day, the type of questions we get. We're there to assist you either via phones, Ask Drexel, which is the email platform we talked about earlier, or in person. Right now we have limited hours, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 10 to 2. You have to be a student to enter the building. You also need your Drexel University ID as well. But typically, I guess the most common questions or concerns we have is, what is my balance, how to make a payment. I have this loan, but I'm not interested in the full amount I got. How might I be able to adjust it or cancel it or reinstate it? really, there's a whole variety of questions we receive. And again, as long as it's within our scope, we're always happy to assist. And if not, we can certainly try to point you in the right direction to a different department who would be better able to assist.
Thanks so much, Haley. Okay, so diving into some of these other questions. If a student has a scholarship check that they've received from an outside organization, when and where can they go about depositing that check? Some of those checks have deadlines for depositing.
Certainly. So anytime a student gets an outside scholarship, we always want to have that on record. So usually what happens is with the scholarship check is a scholarship award letter. What you would do is send that award letter to us via Ask Drexel, like we talked about before, or you can bring it in person if you happen to be in the area. We'll process it, we'll put it on your account. And then when it comes to the check itself, again, if you can bring it in person, that's fine, we can process it. If not, you would send it in the mail. When sending checks of any kind, scholarship or just out of your own bank account, we always ask that you put your 8-digit university ID as well as your first and last name. That way we can associate it with your account and ensure that it gets processed in a smooth and fast manner.
Awesome, thank you. So let's see, is there a fee for the payment plan?
There is an $18 enrollment fee, which you would have to pay each and every quarter or term. If for some reason you're a semester student, but that's typically only medical and law students. Anyway, yes, so there's an $18 enrollment fee, and although you can renew the payment plan, you'll have to manually enroll each and every quarter you wish to participate. It doesn't automatically renew.
Awesome, thank you. So a little bit, I'm getting lots of family questions about Drexel One. Okay. Following that up, Drexel One is for students only. Your student will get a user ID, which is like an ABC 123 alphanumeric code that if you want to not type out your whole student's name and their email address, abc123@drexel.edu will get to them as well. Students only should have access to this. So if your student is with you and you're trying to troubleshoot something and they log in, that's fine. But that password and that information should stay with your student. The Drexel Family Portal is a brand new thing that we are offering. We started in the fall of last year and are continuing to grow it. The Drexel Family Portal allows your student to connect with parents and family members via the portal. Parent or family member will sign up for a Drexel Family Portal account. You'll send an invitation to your student to connect. And if your student chooses to connect with you, they can grant you access to things like billing, financial aid, grades, course schedule, registration status, all in the Drexel Family Portal. If your student doesn't currently have their course schedule, like many of your students will not, because they'll get that in mid-August, you're not going to see that course schedule on there just yet. But when that course schedule comes out, if your student has granted you access to that, that's something that you'll be able to see and connect with them on. The thing that I will have to say is that it is up to the student whether or not they are willing to grant you access. It's not something that we can do on our end. I also want to have Haley talk a little bit in relation to this, FERPA. FERPA is a big deal, and if your FERPA is not on file, we are legally not able to speak with you. So Haley, do you want to talk a little bit about the FERPA situation and in regards to all of that?
Sure, Kate, thank you. So as Kate implied there, FERPA is a big deal. It's a federal policy which protects student record. And it basically states on the first day of classes, literally anyone who is not the student needs to be listed in order for us to actually be able to talk to them. And as you could imagine at Drexel Central, it's very sensitive information. So if you're not the student, we need you to be on FERPA. Otherwise, we unfortunately wouldn't be able to assist. And again, this is federal policy. So as Kate had explained, that you and the student can set yourself up. Typically, what you would do is add your name, your address, your phone number, and your email. Those are going to be like identifying factors. For instance, each time you call us, we will ask for your new university ID, what's your name, are you the student? If you're not the student, we'll say, okay, let's check FERPA. Can you confirm X, Y, and Z? So right now in the summer before classes start, it's not necessary because the student's still considered incoming prospective, but it's always good to get this set up early. Another thing I wanted to mention, and Kate, forgive me if you've already delved into this perfectly, but at Drexel Central, we often see parents get confused FERPA versus authorized user. They are not the same. Ideally, you would be both, but the key thing there is FERPA. Being an authorized user would grant you access to the student's TouchNet billing portal. So essentially viewing balance, paying bills. The other thing I would mention, oh gosh.
Kelly, we are having a bunch of questions come in about the eBill and becoming an authorized user. So if we could talk a little bit about that. And so a little bit about the difference between the Drexel Family Portal and the eBill. The Drexel Family Portal will show you if your student has granted you access to that in the portal. We'll show you financial aid. We'll show you show your students financial aid that they've accepted. We'll show you the bill. We'll show you any remaining balance, but does not allow you to pay that. The payment system is a little bit different. So I'm going to turn it over to Haley to talk a little bit about the eBill and how your student can grant you access to that as well.
Oh, sure. Okay, so the eBill is a monthly statement released as a PDF. Like we might have talked about earlier, it has the issue date and the due date at the top. It's always important to remain mindful of those two. Again, we have the predetermined eBill schedule on our website. If you want to plan ahead for the entire academic year, add it to your calendar, you certainly can. On the eBill itself, there is the balance, including a previous balance, if there is one. With your first eBill, there should not be. There's also a section for like statement of credits. That is pending financial aid that has not dispersed yet, as well as any payments you might have made. A common example is matriculation deposits when you first enroll. Below that, there will be a section for financial aid awards that have paid, and then at the bottom it's going to be your balance, and also like a breakdown of credits, the classes you're taking, the number of credits they are. One thing I wanted to mention is eBills are very important. Always monitor those. Additionally, you want to monitor your current balance in the TouchNet homepage billing portal, because the eBills are released once a month as a PDF. If you made a payment, the eBill is not going to retroactively update. So there might be some confusion about what you actually owe. That's why you want to monitor both. And the way to set them up would be authorized user. That's a big thing. It will grant you access to TouchNet billing portal, which is where you make payments, view the balance, and eBills. Instructions are available on our website.
Awesome. Thank you, Haley. So a bunch of you had asked questions about how to sign a FERPA, how to grant access. I sent that out to everyone in the group chat. I also answered that in some folks' questions that popped in live. So I am going to continue on with some additional questions. If you are trying to get access to the eBill and you're getting an error that is like, it's cycling through, I've heard that a couple of times, reach out to Drexel Central. They're going to be able to assist you with that. So either at ask.drexel.edu or the phone number. I'm putting that in the chat now as well. I would love to say I can help you with that, but I am probably the world's worst technological person. So I definitely cannot assist you with the eBill, but we certainly will be able to assist. So Haley, you said that the eBills were released yesterday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you have access to the eBill, your student should be able to log into Drexel One to show you your first payment, and the bill is available now and should be available now. Am I speaking correctly?
Yes, based on all the info I have available to me.
Cool. So if you are not seeing something, if you have questions about that, reaching out to Drexel Central directly to work one-on-one with you is something that we can absolutely do. Okay. If someone is missing a scholarship on their eBill, should they reach out to Drexel Central as well?
Oh, yes, please, definitely.
Yeah, if you're missing something that you know you were granted, if it's an art scholarship or a jazz band scholarship or something, please reach out to Drexel Central and we'll see what's going on for you. Answered that one. Questions are rolling in now. The eBill will first go to students unless you are an authorized user. So until you're an authorized user, it's only going to go to your student. So nudge if you have to, gently or maybe not so gently, to be authorized if that's something that you would like to have. Okay. Absolutely. The next question, Haley, is it possible to schedule a one-on-one meeting with someone in Drexel Central if they have questions regarding a financial aid status?
Certainly. You're more than welcome to do that. It would look like a time trade Zoom appointment. So virtually, of course, the way to schedule those would be to go to the Drexel One account welcome tab. On the right-hand side under My Success Team, you should see contact info for academic advisor, co-op advisor if you have one yet. You might not get scheduled till later. Library liaison sometimes, and then Drexel Central representative. You'll see a blue schedule appointment button, and then you would just pick a time and day that works for you. If you don't see any of that yet for some reason, you can always call us and we can help you schedule on your behalf.
Okay, this is a great question. Do private scholarships reduce the grant amount that Drexel has already awarded the student?
Oh yeah, that's an interesting question. So no, not necessarily. And by that, I mean, per federal guidelines, a student's combined financial aid can never exceed their cost of attendance. And so when a student has like a variety of grants, scholarships, whatever it might be, we typically favor those before any loans you might have. So if you have to give something up, we imagine you'd probably want to, give up a loan before you give up a scholarship or a grant that you don't have to pay back. Of course, if this is like a specific individual question to your case, feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to look into it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can you talk a little bit about, sorry, I scrolled down too far. I apologize. Can we go over once again the monthly payment plan? Does the student have to re-enroll in that every month? There's a little bit of confusion there.
Oh yeah, thank you for asking. So the payment plan, it's offered per quarter. And how do I want to articulate this? Payment plans break your quarter balance into 3 separate monthly installments. A typical quarter is 3 months, so it's 1 installment per month. You have to re-enroll each and every quarter you wish to participate. There's that $18 enrollment fee. But no, you don't have to re-enroll or repay the $18 each and every month. Once you actually enroll, there will be a breakdown, including the installment balances and places to pay on your TouchNet billing portal. Of course, if it comes time to it and you want to register or enroll rather, we'd be happy to walk you through it.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so trying to go through here. Okay, so we have some folks that are going through the federal loan process. When would they find out how much their federal loans were and how much is due?
Sure. And by that, do you mean when it comes time to pay back the government?
So the question says, once we've gone through the federal loan process, when do we find out what and how much is due? That's the full question. If you're the person that has asked this question, if you want to reply, we can further elaborate a little bit more once we have additional information.
Yeah, that would be great, Kate. Thank you for saying that.
No problem.
I'm happy to try and answer for the time being if that works. Okay, so Federal loans are awarded from your FAFSA, and by now you should have received your 21-22 financial aid award letter. In the loan section, you'll see what you were awarded. For undergrads, oh gosh, let me think back. Unsub is almost always 2,000, no matter the year. The subsidized loan can vary. I believe for first years, it should be 3,500. But again, there is a website through the studentaid.gov that would give us this information. When it comes back to, or rather when it comes to eventually paying back your loans, we always want to revert back to the FAFSA team, because we don't actually handle that. It's all through your specific lender. There is a like a student information center that you can call, and I'm actually going to try to find the info real quick. But Kate, if you want to ask the next question, that's fine.
Awesome. So we're getting a couple of questions that folks have signed up to be authorized users on the eBill, but have not yet seen them. To confirm, families need to log in to view the eBill, correct? Families will not get emails directly sent to them that the eBill has posted. Can you talk a little bit about how families would see that eBill?
Sure. So you most certainly could be emailed as a notification letting you know it's available, but the eBill itself is only going to be in that TouchNet billing portal. And the way to find that, again, would be to, if you're the student specifically, the Billing and Financial Aid tab of your Drexel One account, left-hand side, you can click a variety of the options there. View eBills, pay balance, current balance. Kate, you had mentioned this initially. I think if you're experiencing tech issue, if clicking one of those links asks you to log in again, it's just a matter of turning your pop-up blockers off. If you're going through Drexel One, it would open automatically in a new tab. So always be mindful of those pop-up blockers.
Awesome, thank you. Haley, this is a great question. Is there a glossary of terms for the abbreviations of the bill available anywhere on the Drexel Central website so folks can see where the fees would be charged?
Oh, that's interesting. So my interpretation of that question is the class credit codes, if I'm understanding that.
So it was more like, so for UF, somebody sees a university fee and they're interested in how frequent, like what those UF abbreviations are and how they're charged to the bill. Essentially like reading my Drexel eBill.
That is a really interesting question. And as far as I know, there is not a student like public resource. I mean, of course, we have our own codes and such, but that's all internal information. What I would recommend, honestly, is with the very first eBill, any questions you have, reach out to us as soon as you can. That way we can help you develop the understanding moving forward. Once you get the hang of the eBill, it's actually, well, I can only speak from my experience, of course, but it can be fairly easy once you get the hang of all the terminology.
Awesome, thank you. Is there a deadline for applying for a student loan?
So sorry, a lot of traffic. Yes, so when it comes to the FAFSA specifically, there is a very wide window, but there's still a deadline. So for example, the 21-22 FAFSA opened October 1st, 2020. The application closes June 30th, 2022, but there's also priority deadline. Let me think. For incoming students, it was February 15th. If you're a continuing student, it's typically March 1st. So moving forward, that's just something to keep in mind. The key thing with priority deadline is it can also evaluate you for federal work study, the SEOG loan, and the Pell Grant. If you don't meet that deadline, you would only be considered for sub and unsub.
Sorry, Haley, I was typing.
No.
No worries. So let's see. We have a question about work study. Can we talk a little bit about work study? It says, is this the right meeting to talk about work study? So I think we can certainly talk about it. The second part of the question is, do we advise first-year incoming students to do work study? So we can't really tell you whether or not to accept work study for your student. That's a really personal decision, but we can talk about work study. So I'm going to turn it over to Haley.
Thank you, Kate. So yes, whether or not to accept any federal work study funds you're offered is, purely up to the student. That said, the way it works is students have to meet 3 different criteria. One being that priority deadline. The second is you actually have to indicate yes for, are you interested in federal work study on the application? And then the third is meeting the threshold for expected family contribution. It's essentially gauging your family need, basically. And while we don't have the specific number for threshold, we would be able to tell you whether or not you met it, if that makes sense. The other thing to keep in mind with federal work study is you don't get it automatically applied to your student account. Rather, you actually earn that money via paychecks. And with that, you might be awarded the fund, but you actually have to apply for a position. There is a work study website which holds all of the job postings. And beyond that, the money can only be earned through the fiscal year. So that would be July 1st through the following June 30th. So it's not necessarily a concern for first-year students because they're off in the summer, but in the future, you might be awarded work study for the academic year and it gets to be June 30th, and you're like, wait, I still have X amount of money. Why can't I earn it? Again, it's because of the fiscal year rule.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. So, Haley, if we can just type in the group chat, the Drexel Central phone number,
yep,
and email address, so everyone has that would be great.
Sure, no problem.
Again, I am seeing another question. When is the first eBill sent out? We believe that the first eBill was posted yesterday. If you do not see it, I would say give it just a day or two. And if you still don't see it, reach out to Drexel Central to assist with finding that information for you. But that eBill was sent out. So that's awesome. I'm putting this phone number in the chat as well right now. And okay, next question for you, Haley. And this is a great question that I've sat in on a number of these and I do not know the answer to this one. Will the eBill show outside scholarships?
Yes, so long as we actually have the scholarship award letter we talked about initially, which is why it's important to send it to us as soon as you get it.
That is great. Okay. All right, this is a great question. If someone has received grants from the state and it looks like their grant has decreased in the span of the past few months, would you know why that has happened, and is that supposed to happen?
That's an interesting question and unfortunately a bit tricky to answer without actually looking at the specific account. But typically when that happens, it might have to do with adjustments made elsewhere. For instance, if you had like an AJ Drexel scholarship and that got increased and you didn't have enough room in that financial aid cost of attendance budget, something else is going to have to get decreased. Of course, there might be more to it, which is why, again, we would actually want to look at your account. So please feel free to reach out to us directly.
Okay, this is another great question. If someone has requested an appeal for financial aid, do they still need to plan to pay the full amount on the 11th of August, or is there an extension for that?
Interesting, yes. So we always say pay what you can as soon as you can, especially when it comes to appeals, because the big thing with financial aid appeals, it's never a guarantee, and the decision process, the review process, it can be a bit lengthy. While you're waiting, you could accrue late fees. And with late fees, it's 1% of the outstanding balance at the time, and it usually occurs each month a few days after an eBill due date has passed. If an outstanding balance sits for a longer period of time, a student might get a financial hold, which would impact registration for the upcoming quarter, viewing grades, and ordering transcripts. So I guess to summarize, it's up to you. We don't necessarily recommend it, especially if you can make that payment. I mean, if anything, and this is a case-by-case basis, so please take this with a grain of salt, but if you pay the full balance and you end up getting a granted appeal and there's a difference, the adjustments, it could result in a refund. Again, case by case, feel free to reach out to us directly if you want to explore that in greater detail.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm seeing a couple more questions about the family portal and the eBill and how they talk to each other. So the family portal provides resources and articles about your students' experience on campus. There will be live newsletters with feeds about safety and security, health and immunization, waiving those forms, stuff that we know that families want the information to, but won't have the same email access as students will. So our goal there is to provide a news feed that doesn't necessarily get clogged with personal posts. For example, if you're on Facebook and you see someone post about where you can get a birthday cake, which is a wonderful thing. However, you're not necessarily going to see the pertinent information about waiving your health insurance. So when you log into the family portal, you can say, I would like to opt into newsletters. You don't have to get them, but I would like to opt into newsletters when new information gets posted. And I would like to be involved in the first year student community, the student success community, the co-op community, and the financial aid community. So then anytime anything's posted about that, you're going to get an email with newsletter. Then when your student has all of that data in that FERPA is granted, so you've gotten access to view their grades, they've given you access to their bill, they've given you access to seeing their course schedule. When those things get posted, you'll also get an email that says, there's been an update to Joe Smith's financial aid, and you'll be able to see that. The reason you're not really seeing that right now is that the data doesn't exist because you're an incoming first year student. So as soon as those things like there's been an update to Joe Smith's course schedule or grades or anything like that, you'll get a notification. If you choose to allow notifications, you'll get a notification that that's available. So in the eBill is how essentially you pay that bill. I would say be a little patient with the technology because sometimes it takes a day or two for eBills are posted yesterday. That data needs to pull over to the family portal, do an overnight pullover, and then should transfer over to see that on the family portal. So you should be able to see that on the family portal, how much your student owes, but you're going to get that bill, the bill breakdown in the eBill. So you're going to see that, like somebody else was referencing earlier, university fee X, AJ Drexel scholarship X. You're going to get that breakdown on the eBill, and that's where you can pay that eBill. And then on the family portal, you're going to get the notification, oh, something has been posted. So I hope that kind of talks a little bit about the differentiation between the two. I know two are a little cumbersome, but because we have this ability to pull this data right into you, it's our way of giving you, we can't give you access to Drexel One. So it's a way to give you something that's sort of like your own Drexel One portal with really great information that comes in as well. If you have specific questions about the family portal, I am the one who personally manages all of it. Everything that you post, everything that comes in, you now have a name to a face. So if you get a newsletter and you have a question, just reply to that newsletter and it comes right to me and you'll be able to see it. Okay, so Haley, I'm seeing a couple of questions about on my award letter, I received a grant, but now that grant has disappeared. What should they do? Should they reach out to Drexel Central? What is the best course of action for them?
Yes, please. Feel free to reach out to us. That way we can look into your account specifically and see what's going on.
Awesome. Unfortunately, we really can't answer the first part of this question. The first part, Haley, is how do we know how much we should ask for when applying for a personal loan? To my knowledge, we can't really advise on a personal loan. But the second part may be helpful. If a student applies for more than they need for the year, do they only use what they need and can the rest go back?
Yes. Okay, so I could actually kind of answer the first part. Kate, you're absolutely right. Drexel Central, or anyone really, we would never be telling you, you need to go via this specific lender. They're better than the next. But what we can tell you is how much you have left in your financial aid budget. You could actually do the math too if you viewed the cost of attendance, financial aid award in your Drexel One account. But to my previous point, per federal policy, a student's financial aid package can never exceed their cost of attendance. So we would do the math. We would say you have this amount left. You can apply for X amount for your private loan or less. That's, that's basically the idea there. When it comes to borrowing more than you need, again, we wouldn't let you exceed your cost of attendance financial aid budget, but say you ended up getting like X number of refunds that you decided you didn't want or didn't need, you'd rather just return it directly, you could certainly do that. And the way you would do that is through a loan adjustment request form available on our website. Specifically, it would be section 4, request to return funds to lender. You would fill out the info there, sign the bottom, submit it to us via Ask Drexel, and then we would return it on your behalf. That's a lot to remember. So anytime the question pops up for you specifically, feel free to reach out to us. We can walk you through it.
Awesome, thank you. I'm seeing a couple of questions, and I think I probably misunderstood what y'all were asking. You're going to get an email that the bill is available. You'll need to log into the portal to see an email. So when you get that email, it's going to say, you have new eBill information. There'll be a link in the email for you to log in to see your eBill. We're not just going to say, here's the eBill, have fun. But if you do go on the Drexel eBill page that we linked in there for you, authorized users, at the section that it says authorized users, there is a note that says once an individual has been granted access as an authorized user, they will be able to log in and access their billing account information on the e-page. So you will see it. It's called TouchNet. The eBill sounds a lot better, but I will put that link in there in the chat as well. Again, you're not going to be able to log in until you are granted access, but once you're granted access, you can see it in there. So I apologize if I misunderstood y'all, but I think I answered the question now. We're not just going to send you an email and have you find your way to the eBill. You will be able to log in and see that. So if you have any additional questions, continue to put them in the chat, but I think I answered that one now. Okay. Okay, so I am seeing a little bit of questions about that. I see that has come up a couple of times. If again, I will reply to all of your answers, but let me know in the Q&A if I did not answer that correctly. Oh, Haley, this is a great one. What is the deadline for applying for loans and accepting award letters?
Oh, sure. So applying for loans with FAFSA, it would be June 30th, 2022. If it's a private loan, they're probably going to have their own criteria. We wouldn't be able to speak for anyone specific, but a general rule of thumb is finalize that all, as early as you can, ideally before September 20th, 2021. That way we can ensure your financial aid is in place. It'll disperse accordingly. That's actually an interesting point because it made me remember, typically speaking, if all of your requirements are satisfied, nothing is outstanding, your financial aid will disperse a week before classes start each quarter. And then refunds, if you have one, are processed shortly thereafter. So to summarize, Kate, I would say as soon as you can, before the start of any given academic year is always best.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, if you have not seen yesterday's eBill, I'm seeing a bunch of questions come about that. They were just posted yesterday. So it may take a day to physically post to the accounts. If it gets to Friday and you're not seeing it, I understand how much stress comes up with that. You can feel free to either submit a ticket to ask.drexel.edu, or if you prefer email, family, family @drexel.edu. I'm going to pop it in the chat here. Again, now you have a face to the email address. I am the person that monitors that family email address. So there are actual people that monitor it. And if I can't answer your question, which I probably can't, but I can get you in the direction that you need to connect with those folks. So I would say give your eBills to Friday. If you don't see them directly, shoot me an email, submit a ticket to Ask Drexel, and we can assist you there. But like I said, there is that separate login to see your bill. We're not going to let you hang in and just have to go try to find it. You will. Your eBill has been posted. There's an update. You can pay your eBill here, pay or view your eBill here. Okay. Haley, this is actually a really good question, and probably one that a lot of the families aren't super aware about. Can we talk a little bit about what the 1098-T is and what the purpose of that is?
Sure. So the 1098-T is a tax statement. And as a university, we are, obligated to provide students who are eligible with one. They're typically released during the month of January. And very briefly, in terms of eligibility, if your grants and scholarships exceed out-of-pocket payments towards eligible tuition and fees, you will not get one. If it doesn't, then you should. This is case by case. If you ever have a question when the time comes, please reach out to us. When it comes to the specifics beyond what I just shared with you, you would actually have to talk with a tax professional because it's a tax document. We're not, authorized to divulge. I think we actually have a web page on that might be helpful to bookmark for the future.
Awesome, great. Okay. Another great question, logging into the eBill page. If you're asking about that, I will again copy that and put that into your chat for you. It is there. We have about 5 minutes left. So what I am going to do is answer as many questions I can in the next 5 to 10 minutes that we have. But if we do not get to your specific question today, shoot me an email and we can definitely connect you with additional resources. Okay, this is a good question about payment plans, Haley. If a student has made created a payment plan, it says that the first payment due date is September 10th. Is that correct if you're on a payment plan? As we were saying that the first due date is August 10th or August 11th.
Let's take a look, because when I checked the website right before we started, the current academic year dates were still listed. So let's see. Okay. Maybe. And I say that because, again, it's 2020-2021 academic year that's currently listed, but historically speaking, it follows a very similar timeline. There's an enrollment window, 3 installments, usually around the 10th. For the time being, I would just recommend that you keep an eye on the payment plan website, and I will post that specific URL in the chat.
Awesome, thank you. I am putting the payment plan in here and the 1090T. Sorry, Haley, I think you were just sending them to me, so I'm going to make sure that
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I have
everyone has it as well. No worries. Okay, let's see. Sure. So, Haley, can we talk a little bit about what is actually included in your eBill? Is your room and board and your dining plan included in that eBill, or is that in a separate eBill?
Yeah, sure. So the eBill is definitely going to include any tuition and fees. If you have Drexel housing, it will be listed there as well. If you have a Drexel meal plan, that's also going to be there. This doesn't apply to first-year students because there is a housing requirement, unless, of course, you're able to waive it, but you would have to do that through admissions. Say as like a sophomore or beyond, you lived off campus and you paid rent. Those rent charges are not going to be listed on your eBill. Rather, what would happen is you have to indicate housing status on FAFSA. We would budget you accordingly. You would get refunds, and then you would pay your landlord or whomever directly. So to summarize, only Drexel charges, tuition fees, Drexel housing, Drexel meal plan, if applicable.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I think we have time for like two or three more questions. In regards to payments that are mailed, this is a great question. The website has payment should be mailed with the payment coupon at least 5 business days prior to the due date. Is the payment coupon the same as the eBill? And if someone is mailing a paper check, say from a 529 account, how would they go ahead and pay through a 529 account?
Sure. So the coupon is kind of outdated terminology. There isn't one. That said, you can certainly include the eBill with the check payment, but at the very least, if you do 8-digit university ID and first and last name of the student, that will suffice. When it comes to 529 plans, of course, you would have to communicate with that respective company, but when it comes to Drexel, you would just give them the proper mailing address, make sure they include the student's university ID, first and last name, and then have them send it to us. As far as 5 days go, given the current state of the mailing system with the ongoing pandemic, I personally would recommend more than 5 days, but it's up to you ultimately.
Muted, sorry. Awesome, thank you. As many of these as I can answer in like the next 5 minutes. Are there part-time jobs offered at Drexel for students that are not work study? Yes, they are. You should check the Drexel jobs website. It will list if it's work study or not, but there are some that are not work study jobs. If Haley, this is another one for you. If there is a change in someone's parent's ability to contribute, can aid be adjusted? How do they go about doing an appeal in order to potentially adjust that ability to contribute?
Sure. So if you've had a change in circumstances, the move would be to submit a formal financial aid appeal. On how to do that, I would refer to our website. It gives you info, instructions, including what eligible circumstances apply, any supplemental material, documents you might need to submit beyond the initial form and statement. Let me post that in the chat. And just to really reiterate this point, financial aid appeal, while very can be worthwhile, it is absolutely not a guarantee. So we always want to be transparent about that.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, let me see. For scholarships, are they available all 4 years, or are those scholarships, do they need to be reapplied for year by year?
Sure thing. So if it's an outside scholarship, it's going to have its own criteria. As for Drexel, When it comes to the Drexel grant, which is awarded by the CSS profile, it's need-based aid. That is automatically renewed each year so long as you maintain a 2.0 or higher GPA and stay full-time, which is 12 to 20 credits per quarter. Another thing to keep in mind with the Drexel grant is it's only class quarter. So when students are on co-op, they're not going to get that, but they're also not paying tuition. So your balance is going to be a lot less. Same thing with merit-based aid, such as AJ Drexel, Founder Scholarship, things like that. Automatically renewed so long as you meet the requirements, only paid during class quarters, up to 12 class quarters, which is the standard length of time for most students anyway.
Awesome. And Haley, how do folks know if their loans were approved? If it's a federal loan, how do they know if that was approved?
Sure. So when it comes to federal, it's going to appear on your financial aid award letter. If it's a private loan, I can't really speak to it per se because I don't have the student perspective here, but they should communicate with you on their end. But from our perspective, private loans, they go through a certification process. We would be able to, track that progress for you. So ultimately, I would just recommend contacting us. We'd be able to look into it for you at that time.
Awesome. Okay, the last bit of info that I'm going to pop in the chat here is we have a couple of questions about how to sign up for a payment plan. So I am sending that out to you now. With that, we are over our time together. So we got to most of the questions. So thanks for hanging in there with us. But again, like I said, if there are any questions that we didn't get to, you are welcome to submit a ticket to ask.drexel.edu. Those tickets get emailed to us so we can route them in the correct way. Or you can email family@drexel.edu. I'm the person that monitors that. So I can pretty much guarantee you that I won't know answers about financial aid, but I will do my best to connect you to my colleagues in Drexel Central who can assist you with that. If you have a question that's not related to financial aid, but you just didn't know where to ask it, shoot me an email and we can assist there as well. We do have a couple of more web chats that are coming up. These chats are recorded, but I apologize. I'm a little bit behind in getting them posted on the web. My goal is to do this. My goal is to get these posted hopefully this week. If not next week, I do have to download the data and do a little bit of editing prior to posting them online, but they will be posted. You can check at that same website where you saw the family chats. The ones that are upcoming are next Tuesday, we have a session on safety and compliance. The following Thursday, we have support services, which includes our Drexel Autism Support Program, class tutoring, academic support, stuff like that. Following is the stuff that I am most versed on, Welcome Week and getting involved on campus. So all the fun stuff that we plan on doing as your students are coming in to join us at Drexel. And then the one that is always the most popular on Tuesday, August 24th, regarding move-in and what move-in will look like. So I hope that you will join us for the rest of those. Keep an eye on that Family Web Chats page. The recordings, I will do my very best to have them posted this week. I have to download and edit them. Then they go to our web team to put up top. If you, again, have questions that we didn't answer that you feel like you need a little bit more time, we're happy to schedule a one-on-one session with you. Shoot me an email, submit a ticket to Ask Drexel, and we can go through with you individually if there's stuff that we moved a little bit too quickly for you tonight or anything like that. We know that this is a general overview of questions that we can then filter specific information to you as well. So again, family@drexel.edu, ask.drexel.edu. This recording will be posted. My goal again is this week, if not next week, just depending on my colleagues in other departments to get the stuff posted on the web. But if you have information and you'd like answers more quickly than that, feel free to shoot us an email. And thank you all very much for joining us today. I really appreciate that you stuck with us through some of my tech issues and that you joined us this evening. And thank you so much to Haley for being here with us as well.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure spending this evening with you all virtually. And welcome to Drexel.
Yes, welcome to Drexel. We look forward to welcoming you to campus. Have a wonderful rest of your night and have a great day. Bye now.